I'm locked in. Like, obviously, that wasn't where the intent of the last video was supposed to go, but I got on one there. I'm ready.
Well, go ahead and introduce us. I've hit record, so.
Oh, okay. Well, it's Thursday night again. Welcome to Who's Your Main podcast. I'm Anthony, and this is my co-host.
I'm Jared.
And we're on one. We're ready to go. We're popping. We're popping off.
I think we left the folks at home with our headcanon theories and how we feel that your personal experience with the game is yours, and you can or any kind of media that you interface with and have. It originally started for us in Witcher 3. We would have these talks. I pick Yennefer. I'm Team Yen because I read the books. I've consumed every Witcher media that I think I can, and I've always pictured a certain Geralt a certain way with his headband, his skin very pale, his face all mangled, because that's what happens to him in the books. He gets mangled, and I'm like, this is what I believe is what it is, and Anthony one night was like, yeah, well, that's your personal headcanon, and it's probably different than someone else's. I was like, oh yeah, you're right, because there's a lot of people that pick Triss,
Yeah, and those people are wrong.
Yeah, they are. You will not get Team Triss here in this group.
No.
Sorry, folks.
This started, I think, because you and I both like to read. We love reading books about fantasy and adventure and all of that stuff. Going all the way back to Redwall and books like that, where you have to make the movie happen in your head. You have to fantasize it. And so when you're reading, you're picturing these characters, you're picturing how they are, how they act, how they move, how they are in their being. And then when we started playing video games, it was just an extension of that. We were filling in the blanks, especially in those early years when maybe the graphics weren't the best, or, we talked about before where maybe all you had to go on were the instruction booklets that were giving you like a picture and a biography, and this is who the person is. Well, we're going to take that and we're going to run with it, and this is who we think this character is. And so, yeah, I think you and I are very strong believers in having a personal headcanon, having a personal story, almost like a personal story of, well, maybe that's what the developer intended, maybe the writer intended, but I've got it from here. I'll take it from here.
Definitely. I think I'm just going to keep you rolling here. You were before we left, folks, the rant that he wanted to go on was about Fallout 4, and he's about to go on it right now, and so hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I do. Yeah, go ahead.
This is a game that I am very passionate about. I love Fallout 4. I think the gameplay loop of that game is so unique, not just in the Fallout genre or the RPG genre. I think there's something special there, genuinely. However, it comes with a caveat that I think it is probably one of the worst stories in Fallout ever, and that's including 1 and 2. And so I very famously, like we were talking about before, I fill in those blanks with mods. And so I think there are certain things that I'm gonna get into spoiler territory here. Fallout 4 has been out a while. If you don't want to know the ending, I'll hold my finger up when I'm done. Well, the story is you and your wife have a son, and it's right before the bombs drop, before World War II, and it's going to start the Cold War. Or, I'm sorry, right after World War II. It's the start of the Cold War, and the bombs drop. They're coming, and so you sprint into a Fallout vault to save yourselves, and you get there just in the nick of time. I mean, as the elevator is going down, you see the bombs dropped, and it's blowing up Boston. You get down there, and they, hey, come on in. It's just a regular vault. Just sign some paperwork. We're gonna clean you off a little bit, and then you're gonna spend the rest of your life here. Well, what ends up happening is you get frozen in a cryo chamber. You essentially get put into cryo sleep. The vaults are all human experiments on people. The vault that you are in, Vault 111, is a cryo chamber vault. And you wake up at some unknown period of time later, and you see that a masked man is trying to take your son from your wife. I played as a male character. It's either your wife or your husband, whichever you choose, Nate or Nora. and he shoots your wife and kills her. And then you go back to sleep. You wake up some unknown time period later. You bust out of your pod. You go over there, and she's dead. The quest marker pops up. Find your son. I rush out of the vault and start playing through the story. And the story is lackluster. I'll put it nicely. I mean, to illustrate how badly it was going, there's a major plot point in the game where you find your wife's killer. You find out where he is, and you go to confront him. And I'm literally in the base. I got over encumbered with gear, and my options were I could drop plates, ceramic plates that I had picked up, not weapons, not ammo, not gear, not chems, ceramic plates. I could drop that and go find my wife's killer. Or I could walk the slow walk of shame of over encumberment back to my base, drop off my stuff, and then go find my wife's killer. And that's what I ended up doing because I just didn't care about the story at all. And so my rant is, in this stupid headcanon of a game where there are synths, humans are robots. Should they have rights? Are they human? Does a synth have a soul? Do machines have souls? You're telling me that you couldn't make a clone of your wife who got murdered and bring her back? So that's the first mod I install, is your wife gets to be alive and she's a companion and she's waiting for you outside Vault 111. There you go. There's my rant. There's my Fallout 4 rant. Very condensed. I tried not to spoil anything. I'm putting my finger up for the people who are ready for spoilers to be done.
You did good. You did good. You didn't even spoil the game that much. Come on. You spoiled kind of the intro a little bit, I guess. But, I like that you add the wife, the spouse companion back in.
That's such a... You're fucking telling me that you have all of the powers in the world to create a one-to-one clone of a human to the point where you can't tell the difference, and they're literally murdering each other in the streets because it's like, I think you're a synth. I'm going to shoot you, kill him, and then it's like, well, were they a synth? And it's like, I don't know. Were they? Yeah. So it's a one-to-one clone, and you're telling me you can't go in there and get your wife back? That was crap. I hated that.
There's something to say about
one of my favorites.
You keep talking about Bethesda. I feel like ever since the Oblivion release, but their stories slowly became more and more dull as they released more and more sophisticated versions of their previous game, whether it's Elder Scrolls or Fallout. And I think that partially is due to the fact that they just want you to sandbox and roll around out there, and they don't want you to care too much about the main story. They want you to become a member of that world. And I think they've always done it. That's why Skyrim lives on and Fallout 4 lives on, because you just get immersed in these worlds. And the side quests are there, and the environmental storytelling is there, and you just feel immersed. But then when you do the main quest, you're like, all right, can we hurry up and shut this fucking gate? I don't give a shit.
Yeah. And you're exactly right. It's the immersion is the story that I was just telling. Those ceramic plates, I wasn't bringing them back for scraps so that I could craft. I was bringing them back so that the settlers in my town that I had built would have plates to eat on. Like, in my headcanon, they're not actually doing it in real life. That's me carting plates back so that NPCs can have silverware and dinnerware. I mean, I was so immersed in that game, from a headcanon standpoint, that I was like, the main story, whatever. I don't care about that. What I do care about is, building up Sanctuary and building up this town and all of that stuff. I thought that was awesome.
There's something there as well. Instead of playing a game, you and I both do this, and this is why we play well together. It's essentially how me and my brothers used to play games. But instead of actually just playing the game and moving on, you start like these little mini stories of role play. We do this in tabletop RPG, D&D, Pathfinder, whatever. We do this because that's all there is to do in that. But when you're playing like Elder Scrolls or when we were playing Baldur's Gate 3, he and I were carrying around bags filled with stuff that our characters would keep. and it would affect our encumbrance. So it adds this layer to the character because now I don't have enough room to carry the potions that I need because I don't want to put down the 40 pounds of coal that I'm carrying because I have to have the coal. I have to have it. It's important to me. Or you're carrying the fishing rod and you're not going to put the fishing rod down because your guy likes to fish and he would never put his fucking fishing rod down for anything. And it causes all kinds of issues like not putting down the ceramic plates and how important that is to playing that game. And it's amazing that you and I have never tried to play Minecraft. I think it would almost be too much. We would just be digging a hole. It's just where I live.
I never do well in games that don't have, if there's no structure to a game and it just tells you, go have fun. I had this problem with Animal Crossing as well. If a game doesn't have structure, then I will find a way to regiment it down into, for Animal Crossing, it was, I'm going to fill out the entire museum. This is a collection game. I'm going to collect everything, and then once it's done, the game is over. There is nothing else. I'm very goal-oriented in that way. But then it's almost like the reverse. When you give me structure and you say, okay, I want you to do this. I want you to go here, here, and here. I want you to collect these things. And I'm like, yeah, I'll get to it eventually. Hang on a second. I'm fishing. Hey, I don't know what it is about my brain that just when there is no structure, I have to have it. And when there is structure, nah, I'm not doing that.
You mean to tell me you didn't collect every single portrait of the villagers on your island in Animal Crossing New Horizon?
No.
You didn't? What?
No.
Oh, you gotta get... I don't know what you're doing.
I'll tell you what I was doing. I was filling my house with fish.
Oh, well, see? You were fine. You were playing that game just right.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I think that whole idea of having a personal headcanon, or obviously we've kind of developed these characters, Amon and Melon, and those have kind of become their own thing. But to me, that almost takes a game from being a good game into a great game territory where, you're inserting yourself into the story. You're making the story yourself. You had brought up The Witcher earlier, and I am going to spoil the ending to The Witcher because to me, I think that is one of the greatest endings to a game ever. And I still have this save. I don't have the game installed. It's no longer on my computer or on my PlayStation anymore. I have that game saved on the cloud, a specific moment of the ending, and it's the end of the game, and it's just Geralt sitting on a bench with Yennefer, and he's just looking out into the home base that he has, Casablanca. The ending of that game was so perfect, where it was just, nope, that's it. I don't need to headcanon this. That's it right there. That's the ending. And they live happily ever after. You know what I mean? And it's and I'll keep that save forever because that was so monumental in my brain of I didn't need to change anything. That was perfect. Whereas a lot of games, I need to go in there and kind of fill in the blanks and change some things and move some things around. And it's okay, now I'm done. Yeah.
It wasn't that big of a spoiler. Yeah, I don't know. The headcanon stuff that I'm thinking of is in Stardew Valley is Abigail actually the wizard's daughter? Well, some people would say yes, and some people would say no, but who knows for real if it's actually just Caroline is the wizard's daughter. We don't know. We don't know if there was an affair or if that's the witch's daughter is Caroline, and so you kind of invent your own thing there, and that's really how great fan fiction then becomes its own story. The most infamous is the 50 Shades of Grey.
Yes,
was Twilight fiction, and
yep.
And then it became, well, that was somebody's headcanon about fucking all that stuff,
I think Stardew Valley is a really good example of you and I like games that show, don't tell. I like environmental storytelling, and I like stories that are, read between the lines. Don't tell me what the story is. Show me what the story is, and then I will fill in the blanks, and I will if it's a murder mystery, I'll try to figure out the ending before we get to the ending and see if I get it right. And I think Stardew Valley is a really good example of that, where if you really think about what that game is story-wise, it's very broken apart dialogue sequences that it's up to you to remember the sequence of. Let's say you get to 10 hearts with somebody, summer 1, and then you don't get to 10 hearts on somebody else until winter of the 3rd season. Well, the story's going to seem discombobulated and you don't know what the connection there or anything like that. So it's up to you, the player, to make those things happen. And I like that. I think that's a really unique way to tell a story. I don't really play Dark Souls or anything like that. I can recognize that those games have incredible environmental storytelling, and that's where the story is. And I've played Bloodborne, which is kind of the PlayStation exclusive of those games. The story is a mess. I mean, objectively, there is no story. And so, I'm going to piss off a ton of people by saying that, but the story is what you make of it in those games. And so if you have somebody get on screen and they're talking in some old English jibber jargon, that you don't know what they're saying, and it's like, what? And then the person sitting next to you is like, oh, do you know who that was? And it's like, no. It's like, oh, that's a main character. That's a huge character in the Dark Souls universe. And it's like, okay, well, that's lost on me, So I think in some sense, you do need to tell the player what is going on. You need to give them structure, and you need to give them an outline to follow. But I think I think we really like inserting ourselves into games. We like inserting our characters into games. And like you said, we go off the rails sometimes.
Oh my gosh. I think just mentioning Bloodborne makes some people like sit upright.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't really know. Yeah, I know. It's okay. Maybe someday I'll play some Dark Souls games, but leave this old Ninja Gaiden guy to rest and let me play easy games for now.
Exactly.
Some more. Till my kids are bigger or something. I don't know. But yeah, we started this conversation talking about personal headcanons, and we've kind of moved into personal stories and stories that you insert into the game. I think they kind of walk hand in hand together, those ideas. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you can really talk about any game, and just go down the list of the stuff that we even talked about in the last episode. And if we discuss the story, you and I, we are going to have different interpretations of that story, because I'm coming at it from different life experiences, and maybe I noticed something that you didn't, or the example that I love that we did this. You and I both finished Final Fantasy VII Remake, and we spent 8 hours. We finished the game, set the controller down, joined a Discord call, and we talked for 8 hours about what we thought happened and what the next game would be. And it was just a brain dump. It was a writer's group of, well, this is what I think is going to happen in the next game. And then you came in with some ideas that I hadn't thought of. And it was insane. It was just an incredible, you and I had experienced the same story. And really, even our friend John was a part of that discussion too. And his discussion was, it's just a game. A cigar is a cigar. It's not anything to write home. Yeah, not write home about, but you're digging too much into it. Whereas you and I, you obviously the cigar connoisseur, you would know, hey, this is something to be savored. This is something to be enjoyed. Me, an outsider who I've never smoked. I don't know anything about them. I'm like, oh, that smells nice. So we come at things with different experiences and different life skills, and that taints the story or tinges the story and colors it differently and makes it into something new and unique. And I like that. I think that's what video games are.
Well, I'm talking about writing and symbolism, symbology. I always love that joke. But in general, symbolism in writing and art, they've always kind of grappled, if you will. Some people who were a part of those movements in symbolism were like, yeah, I did that on purpose. And then others were like, nope, didn't do that on purpose. You've read too far into it. Even though they're some of the greatest symbologists of our time, of their time. They're long dead, some of them,
Yeah.
writers, books, and things like that. But yeah, as far as interpreting stories and things, that's something that we want to visit in the future. Final Fantasy VII specifically, there's a lot there because of Final Fantasy VII OG remake, Crisis Core Reunion, Crisis Core Original, Ever Crisis, Rebirth, all these games that are now out, and they've really expanded upon even the movie Advent Children. There's a couple of books that have been written. Nomura is famous for his twisty M. Night Shyamalan-y kind of ding-dongy, symbolismizing. Yeah, I don't know. I think that stuff is really important to art in general. I mean, we've moved into more of a conversation about that and how much I value that in games. I value that very, very much. That's one of the most important things a game can have for me. But that's not going to make me dislike a game if it doesn't have it. Repo doesn't have any symbolism in it. I enjoy playing the fuck out of that game with my friends, you know. But if it's there, I mean, hell yeah. I'm ready to look at this picture for 12 hours and be like, I think that's what it means. Or maybe this. Or what do you think? Actually, I like that best.
Absolutely. I mean, I very famously have this stance. I don't know that I've brought it up on the podcast yet or not, but I have a very famous stance that I think Mission Impossible 2 is the greatest movie of all time. And I think the year 2000 is when cinema peaked. I don't think a single movie has been better than, a collection of movies has not come out in a year better than the year 2000. And I think that because it's such a flawed movie, it's so perfectly bad that it's perfect. It's the perfect movie. It's John Woo, who is a very famous foreign director. He had produced foreign films before he came to America. And then you mixed that with Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible, kind of the generic action star, with a story that's so cheesy and bad that you have to fill in the holes because they're gigantic. If you're able to consume the media, you have to fill in the holes. And so I'm right there with you. I love that. And if it's not there, it's not the end of the world. I like movies that aren't like that. I like games that aren't like that. But I think it's important to know what it is that you like and the things that you enjoy and the things that make you passionate about the things that you like. And, that those can be good things and those can be bad things. It's a spectrum. And sometimes you go so far one way on the spectrum that you come all the way back around to the other side. And I like that. Those are the things that I enjoy.
That was what we were going to talk about originally tonight. We were going to talk about some of the years leading up to 2000.
Yeah.
Set you up for that fucking 2000.
That's my hard take, my hard stance, my line in the sand. The year 2000 is when cinema peaked.
He could be right, folks. Tell us what you think in the comments below, whether or not year 2000 was the best, and if Mission Impossible was your favorite. Go ahead, tag Anthony specifically and tell him your opinion, and he will respond. I promise you that.
But just tell me which Mission Impossible you liked best.
Yeah, and it better be the first one because he'll get mad.
No, the first one's not the best one.
Oh, I thought it was the first one.
No.
Which one is the best one?
The second one. The first one didn't have a motorcycle fight with doves.
Oh, I forgot about that. It's been so long.
Yeah, you heard that right, folks. A fist fight that happens on motorcycles with doves. Greatest movie of all time.
We started this whole night talking about the headcanon stuff, but I really wanted to talk about freaking 94 to 98 and how those 4 years put out some of the best games that had ever been made. They were just put out for kids, for a toy.
Sure.
Were books like that?
Well, go ahead. Let's get on the rant. Get on my lawn. Let's have a rant.
Oh man, I don't know.
How we doing on time? We got time?
Oh, we've got plenty of time.
Okay.
Whether or not I want to open this can
Well, here I'll lead you in here with a little bit of I'll put some fuel on the fire and you see if it catches. So I'm a very hard proponent of, I think you should have lines in the sand. I think you should have favorites of everything, whether that's your favorite movie, your favorite food, your favorite place to go on vacation, your favorite number, whatever it may be. I think you should have a favorite. And I think you should, I very famously love this saying, every hill is a hill that you should die on. Every argument is worth getting into an argument over. You should have favorites. You should have things that you're passionate about, because if you're not, you're just living in the valley with the fools. There is nothing to die on the hill over if you're living in a valley. So be passionate about the things that you like. Defend them. If somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, I don't think Mission Impossible 2 is the greatest movie of all time," okay, what's your favorite movie of all time? If you don't think Final Fantasy VII is the best game of all time, what game do you think it is? And I think that's a really good way to get a conversation started, is by being unmovable, unapproachable, and being stonewall in your defense of these things that objectively maybe aren't the best thing of all time, but they are to me. So there you go. There's why I think year 2000 is the greatest year in cinema history, and Mission Impossible 2 is the greatest movie of all time.
Yeah, but what games came out in 2000?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't looked up that list.
Oh my God.
We'll look it up real quick. Yeah, folks at home, entertain yourself.
Diablo 2, sir.
Oh, that's a pretty good game.
That's right there. If you hit the Googler, Baldur's Gate 2, Final Fantasy fucking 9. I mean, some people love Final Fantasy 9. I think that is a choice.
See, but that's exactly what I'm talking about, which is, if your favorite game is Final Fantasy 9, and then you go to talk to somebody about it and they go, "Whoa, that's not even the best Final Fantasy game." Okay, then debate it. Prove me wrong. What is the best Final Fantasy game of all time? What is, your favorite? By the way, Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask came out in 2000. The Sims, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, Pokemon Yellow. Great games. All great games.
Stop it.
Phantasy Star Online.
I can't take it.
Pokemon Stadium.
Grand Night 2. Grand Night 2. Yes.
Is the year 2000? Did all media peak in the year 2000? Am I onto something here?
You might be. You might very well be onto something.
Ooh, Resident Evil Veronica.
Mario Tennis. Mario Tennis. Well, my God! After the Mario sports rants that you've had to say 2000, how come we've never looked this up before? We're just doing this now on the podcast, like
WWF SmackDown 2. Know Your Role. I don't even know if that's a good game, but it's WWF.
I don't know my
Good.
Yeah, I don't know. I think for me, though, the headcanon topic is somewhat exhausted here. I love the idea, and I also love, because with the headcanon, with the state your favorite and stand your ground and die on the hill, I think that's all tied together. It's all together. Draw your lines in the sand and decide for yourself what is important in these games and why they're important. Really, just coming back to these old titles, we're putting lines in the sand and saying that these old games are worth playing. They are worth your time. They are worth everything that they are. They are what made the games that we play today possible. If these developers hadn't drew their own lines in the sand and said this story is worth telling, then we wouldn't have what we have now. And I think that that's really important. A lot of the games that have come out as of recently were continuations on ideas from long ago. And Baldur's Gate 3 was made by Larian, but that's not who made Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. And the company that is made up of, I think it's Obsidian. Is that who made Baldur's Gate 2?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. 1. The people who worked on the original games are no longer there. they're not. It's not the same company. It's not the same people, and who knows what they would have done with the title. I'm anxious to see what Larian does in the future. Swen, he also helped write everything that Larian has put out, which I was blown away by. I didn't realize he was so involved creatively in the stories. I'm very anxious to see what they make. You know, we talk about this the brand selling everything, the CRPG being sold by D&D essentially. So many people love D&D. It'd be like McDonald's came out with a hamburger. Oh wait, they did. So many other people make hamburgers, you know.
Yep.
So many other people make CRPGs. Maybe you just found your new favorite genre because Larian decided to make a D&D game. Well, now you can go and experience DOS 1 and 2 by them. Amazing game.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean that's really what I think is possible because of video games. You know, you can get into these series and these stories, and sure, just because something has the same title doesn't mean it's going to be the same, you know, continuous story. But absolutely, you can absolutely find something that maybe you didn't know you liked, and now all of a sudden it's one of your favorite genres or your favorite game series of all time. And you know, now you've gotten to experience it because it was an interactive medium of video games and something that you were a part of. And absolutely, I think that can happen.
Chew the bitter candy of your ancestors. Try the anise hard candy and the licorice jelly beans of your ancestors. Play these old games. Force yourself. You're going to find out you might actually like it because they did. There's a reason. But Grandai 2, I can't. I love Grandai 2, man. There's another game. The story in that is so awesome. But it's a product of its time. I mean, the graphics are probably they would be considered very stylized today, and the voice acting is definitely of its time. Some of my favorite style of voice acting was that early 2000. Oh my God! I believe Cam Clark is the main character in that game, which you know.
Yeah. Yep.
Liquid Snake, everyone, if you didn't know. And if you didn't know him for that, then maybe you knew him as Max Sterling. I don't know who you knew him as. I don't have enough time to Google that. If he was the voice actor for that. I need to go back and play that game again. You're going to get some Let's Plays from me at some point, maybe, hopefully.
Don't threaten us with a good time.
We're still working on a secret project, though, for you folks in the future. It's taking all of our brain power because we've never done anything like that. Similar to this, we're feeling confident, and we're hoping that you will join us for that when we get it made. I don't know if I have anything else to say on this current topic. We might shelve it and come back, and I don't know. Do you have anything else to add?
No, I think like you said, maybe there's still a little more meat on the bone here, but I think this is a good stopping point.
Well, we're glad that you all could join us today. Hopefully we can teach you to have some joy when you game.
Yeah. Or rage, either one.
Or be mad like me. Or him. Or I guess we're both mad sometimes. Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll see you next time.
See ya.